Now, External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar also spoke on the report of Five Eye intelligence on the Nijjar killing. He said, and I quote, "I'm not part of the Five Eyes. I'm certainly not part of the FBI. So I think you're asking the wrong person." Now, remember, the Five Eyes is an intelligence alliance comprising Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the United Kingdom and the United States. These countries are parties to the multilateral UK-USA agreement, a treaty for joint cooperation in signals intelligence. Let's listen in to what External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar said.
I'm not part of the Five Eyes. I'm certainly not part of the FBI. So I think you're asking the wrong person. I'm not part of the Five Eyes. I'm certainly not part of the FBI. So I think you're asking the wrong person.
Our correspondent Abhishek Jha continues to stay with us on this story. Abhishek, so when Mr. S Jaishankar was asked about the Five Eye intelligence report, he said that as he's not part of the Five Eyes alliance, he's the wrong person to ask about it.
Well, Anjali, when India is not part of that strategic or monitoring espionage alliance, how can Jaishankar be knowing what has been going among the group members? And apparently, on the issue of Hardeep Singh Nijjar killing, there has been some intelligence sharing among the group members, and this has been told in the various US media that USA had provided the context in which the Hardeep Singh Nijjar killing happened, and that on the basis of that, Canadian intelligence agencies built up a case that concluded Indian agencies' role in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But that is very much within the grouping. So far, no evidence, no documents, or no intelligence inputs have been shared with the Indian authorities, and this is what Indian External Affairs Minister has also reiterated in Washington, and he said that unless until they have evidences, how can they look into it? And if any government from Canada or any other government has some issue with India, and they provide something, some evidence or some documents, then India will clearly look into it, and this is what India's stand has been. On the issue of Hardeep Singh Nijjar and intelligence sharing and all the reports that has been going on media, there has not been any official take from any government, be it from USA or Canada, as to what kind of intelligence sharing has been, who all among the group members were trying to monitor or kind of keep a track of Indian diplomats or Indian agencies or so-called Indian agents on Canadian soil. So all the information is trickling down from some sources in the US or Canadian media, but there has not been any official word on the intelligence sharing or the entire controversy that has erupted versus Justin Trudeau has alleged Indian agencies' role on the floor of the Canadian Parliament.
All right, Abhishek, please stay with us. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates on the story. Well, the investigation into Hardeep Singh Nijjar's death is facing a lot of questions, and now we will take you through what an intel source has told CNN News 18 about the death of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who was a separatist. Now, according to intel sources, Rahat Rao and Tariq Kiani, two ISI planted in Canada. So these are the ones who have been planted in Canada, who have links with the ISI and handling terrorists who are coming from India. So they are handling the terrorists who are coming from India, and they have a close proximity to Nijjar, and he was very cautious, in fact, and this is according to the intel source, to what intel source told CNN News 18, and Nijjar was killed by ISI to control drug business. So this is also a possibility that Nijjar was killed by ISI in order to control the drug business. And another reason that is coming to the fore was that Nijjar was gaining popularity in Canada, in the Canadian community, and this could also be a reason behind his killing. And in fact, Nijjar's proximity to Pak-based group a problem for ISI. So this could also be the reason why ISI could have a hand in the killing of Nijjar, as he had a close proximity to Pak-based group, and which was being seen as a problem by the ISI. We have CNN News 18's Abhishek Jha. So Abhishek, there is a possibility which is being cited by the intel sources to CNN News 18 that ISI could be behind the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
Very well, it could be, because we have known ISI's role for a very long time in keeping that, all Khalistani movement very much alive and kicking in various parts of the world. And those movements have also been very shady, as they have been funded by organized crime setup, including drug cartel, illegal immigration, extortion rackets, and the initial probe or initial suspicion on during the Harit Singh leader's killing was also that there had been apparently some fallout among the group members on the issue of money or funding, or who will be the boss, or who will be the dominating player in the gang, or the of the Khalistani group operating on the Canadian soil. And probably that was one of the reasons why Hardeep Singh Nijjar was killed. This is what the initial suspicion was. But if, now we know that since ISI has been kind of handler of these groupings or these individuals, so probably though those killings could very well be on the behest of ISI handlers. I mean, somebody who goes rogue, or somebody who doesn't listen to the masters. They have to be neutralized, and this is how these foreign nationals, the hands of these foreign nationals govern a nexus or organized crime set of works in various countries, including Canada.
All right, Abhishek, please stay with us. Our managing editor Zaka Jacob spoke to ex-Canada Minister in Defence Ministry Peter MacKay on the diplomatic standoff which continues between India and Canada. Listen in to this exclusive conversation.
First things first, we're all still appalled by the manner in which, the very public manner in which the Prime Minister of Canada went up in Parliament and made these grave allegations. And it's been a week and we're still waiting to see what's the evidence to back those claims. And I just put out what the Washington Post today said, no interviews conducted with the eyewitnesses, no interviews of the homeowners or business owners around there for any kind of CCTV footage. Surely, I mean, for such a high-profile crime, what explains this rather ham-handed nature of the investigation?
Well, I wish I could answer that. It's completely bizarre, as you've said, and I think there are two tracks. There is the political track, and then there is the criminal investigation, but both seem to be sorely lacking in terms of answers and evidence. The Prime Minister's statement in Parliament that kicked off this explosive controversy, he speaks of credible allegations. Well, at a criminal standard, that doesn't meet even the most basic threshold of reasonable and probable grounds. And not to get into the legality, but this is an open murder investigation. And I have never seen anything like this in my career, both as a prosecutor, my time in Parliament, my time in government, where the head of state essentially fingers another country in such a broad and defamatory way without any evidence. Now, look, some evidence must exist. There must be some shared intelligence, either signal intelligence or human intelligence, that points to certain individuals, perhaps in government, but none of that should be, in my opinion, playing out in public. If they hope to apprehend those responsible, you need cooperation from the Indian government, and accusing them in such a blatant and public way doesn't lend itself or bring about the type of cooperation that you would want in an open murder investigation.
What according to you, you've been Minister for Foreign Affairs before, you've been Minister for National Defence before. Like I said, when a Prime Minister makes such public allegations, I mean, these are not happening in back channel. What would be the threshold of evidence that you would want to see for him to have made that decision to go public? I mean, obviously it has to stand in a court of law, but it has to be more than that. It has to be beyond a reasonable doubt for the Prime Minister of a country to have gone public with those allegations. As a lawyer, as a qualified lawyer, what would the threshold of that evidence be, according to you?
Well, the threshold for a charge to be laid is reasonable and probable grounds. What you speak of would bring about a conviction, that is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. But look, at this point, we haven't even arrested a suspect. We haven't named a suspect. It isn't unusual, of course, for the police to go out and seek the assistance of the public. But very rarely, if ever, I think we're in uncharted, unprecedented waters when you see the politician, the head of the government in our country, stand up and make such, frankly, vague allegations. I have not seen or heard anything that lends itself to that step that the Prime Minister has taken. Nor would I expect to. That is the back channel information that often comes from allies in the Five Eyes. It might be shared intelligence, but it's all intended, of course, to get to the perpetrators of the crime. And making a broad allegation like this doesn't really bring about cooperation. In addition to that, we know that 2 weeks ago, our Prime Minister met with the Indian Prime Minister and made this allegation, which was refuted. The word was absurd. It's not true. Yeah. And yet, just a short time later, he stands on the largest stage in our country and makes this allegation. It's beyond odd.
Commentators have been talking about this in Canada as well. Before the last election, Justin Trudeau went all fire and brimstone against China and Chinese meddling in Canadian politics, interference in Canadian elections, etc. But ever since that whole Meng Wanzhou case, which was the daughter of the Huawei founder, and she was released in exchange for 2 Canadian nationals, he's been accused of going soft on China. A lot of Canadian commentators are asking if this whole brouhaha around Khalistan and making these public allegations against India is a convenient diversionary tactic from the accusation against Trudeau that he's gone soft on China.
Well, one would certainly hope not, given the stakes. And at this point, 8 years as Prime Minister, one would hope that he has come to understand the importance of his role and everything that he says diplomatically. I wouldn't put this down to malice as much as I would to incompetence. We saw something happen yesterday in the House of Commons when the Ukrainian president was visiting, and we had a former Nazi participant, albeit a Ukrainian, who fought against the Russians in the gallery that was recognized. We cannot forget as well the serious incident of the Air India bombing that happened, that originated from Canada. And so one would hope the Prime Minister has a much firmer grasp of history, let alone reality, and not just trying to change the channel here. I still come back to the rule of law argument, which is certainly we cannot have foreign interference to the degree where an individual who does have certainly a spotty record, one would note, in terms of his immigration to Canada, but he does hold a Canadian passport.